The last dinner for individuals about to be executed is a pre-modern European tradition. It was believed that if the prisoner was served a farewell meal, he would be at rest and would not return to haunt as a ghost. Let's take a look at some of the strangest last meal requests of all time. Number 14. Vegetarian pizza for homeless. Workman was involved in a contentious trial that ultimately found him guilty of murdering a police officer, resulting in his execution in Tennessee in 2007. When ordering their final supper, the majority of death row convicts are thinking selfishly. Workman, on the other hand, was a different story. His last meal request was for a huge vegetarian pizza to be ordered and then given to a homeless person. Workman's request was denied by prison officials. He then embarked on a hunger strike, prompting fans to start handing out vegetarian pizzas to the homeless. Number 13. Bread and wine. It's never too late to score some points with the big guy upstairs. Noble's last dinner request deviated from the menu. Nobles was convicted of the murders of 2 women in 1986. Nobles went through various adjustments before his execution and discovered God, becoming a born-again Christian. This explains his final meal request of the Eucharist, often known as Holy Communion to many and the holy bread and wine to simple peasants like myself. My assumption is that he was not granted seconds. After his dinner, he was executed by lethal injection, and the rest is history. Number 12. Birthday cake. Richardson was charged with the murder of 2 security officers in 1980. He was tried and convicted for the fatal killings, and he was sentenced to death in Texas. Richardson's final dinner request was a birthday cake with the day of his wedding on top and 7 pink candles. He also requested an abundance of fruit and a salad with Thousand Island dressing. First and foremost, birthday cake is an excellent thinking outside the box Last Supper request, and Thousand Island dressing is vastly underappreciated. I'm impressed. Richardson made a really excellent all-around Last Supper request. Number 11. Cheeseburger out of spite. During his trial, the prosecution dubbed Teague a one-man slaughterhouse. Given this, it was a foregone conclusion that if convicted, he would be sentenced to death by the state of Texas. Teague thought that refusing his last meal was the wisest option. Therefore, he didn't eat when one was provided. He didn't start eating his cheeseburger until his mother stepped in and told him he had to. Now listen, Junior, if you don't finish your dinner, you're going to bed. No execution. Number 10. Justice, equality, and world peace. Barnes murdered a lady during a home invasion. His trial was a whirlwind of forensic evidence, human rights organizations, and anti-death penalty demonstrations. There was a lot of pressure to get him to get a life sentence, but it didn't work. He was eventually found guilty and sentenced to death. Before his execution in 2000, his final meal request was simple: justice, equality, and world peace. Unfortunately, prison officials were unable to approve his request. Number 9. The rule changer. Brewer spoiled what could have been a terrific thing. There were many laws about last meal requests in Texas, which is a huge supporter of the death sentence, until Brewer came along. His most recent meal order included chicken fried steak, a cheeseburger, an omelet made of beef and cheese, a pizza topped with meat, jalapeno peppers, barbecued meat, bread, fajitas, and root beer. That wasn't all. He also requested ice cream with peanut butter fudge for dessert. His request was granted, but he could not consume any of it. From then on, Texas declined to offer final meal requests. Number 8. No appetite. Bundy is one of the most infamous serial killers of all time, so it's no wonder that his Last Supper is mentioned in his biography. Bundy was convicted guilty of over 30 further murders and condemned to death in 1989 in Florida. Bundy, who is notoriously difficult, declined his last meal request, so a Florida official served him the normal steak, eggs, toast, and hash browns, milk, coffee, and juice. Bundy refused everything and would not eat. I don't think anyone slept well because of this. People who enjoy breakfast foods, perhaps, because that is a wonderful spread. Number 7. Bottle of caramel. Eichmann was a top Nazi official who was prosecuted, found guilty, and executed in 1962. Obviously, the worst of the worst, although I can understand his last plead to some extent. His most recent meal request was for a bottle of caramel and an Israeli red wine. Who wouldn't desire a drink before their execution? If there was ever a stressful day, it had to be Dead Man Walking Day, and that drink had to be tasty. Anyway, what puzzled me was that he only drank half of the bottle. Why not finish it off and ask for 2 bottles? I'm sorry, gentlemen, but I need to be on guard for my execution. I guess I'll never grasp the thoughts of Nazi masterminds. Number 6. KFC. Gacy is yet another serial killer who arguably got what he deserved. Gacy was convicted of the murders of at least 33 young men. In terms of his Last Supper request, this is coming closer to where I believe my mind would be. His most recent food order included fried shrimp, French fries, strawberries, and a bucket of KFC. If there was ever any doubt, this is it. The original recipe is far superior to crispy. I'm sure I'd want to include a few Israeli bottles of red wine, but a bucket of KFC original recipe isn't the worst meal you could have. Number 5. Sugar-free black walnut ice cream. This is where things start to get strange. First and foremost, Allen was the second oldest person ever executed in the United States, but that's not the strange part. His last order was fried chicken and steak. In any case, he also asked for sugar-free black walnut ice cream. I'd never heard of such ice cream before, so that's impressive. Also, why sugar-free? Too bad Allen killed people. He could have lived longer and seen Whole Foods, which I'm sure he would have appreciated. Number 4. One black olive. Buell is a well-known criminal who was convicted of raping and murdering an 11-year-old girl. In the state of Ohio, he was sentenced to death. His final supper request was just one black olive, pitted of course. There are so many questions here. Why only one? Is a good place to start. I'm sure the officials considered giving him one pitted olive simply to annoy him. In addition, why an olive? Why not order a martini with an olive in it? I suppose I'll never comprehend how the most heinous criminals think. To me, a bucket of KFC and one unpitted black olive makes sense. Number 3. Chocolate chip mint ice cream. McVeigh is well known as the terrorist responsible for the Oklahoma City bombing. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection in Indiana. His last meal request was quite simple, just 2 pints of chocolate chip ice cream. This is another perplexing request for me, not because it involves ice cream, which we all enjoy. Why not include a box of cones or sprinkles as well? I mean, even if you're a terrible human being, you only get one meal, so live it up, buddy, and add some sprinkles on top of that ice cream. Number 2. Jolly Rancher candy. Mitchell was found guilty of murdering 2 persons during a botched heist. In the state of Texas, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection in 2001. His most recent request was for a bag of Jolly Rancher sweets. My question is, how did he eat them? Most seasoned Jolly Rancher fans do not divide and conquer equally, but rather devour taste in order. My hunch is that he ate the cherries first because they are the most delicious, and then moved on to the watermelon. He then ate the grape while sticking out his tongue since it would be purple, which never gets old. Finally, he finished the sour apple candies. I'm guessing he was ready for his execution after a few of those. Number 1. Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Bonin was yet another heinous monster who was found guilty of raping and murdering at least 21 individuals and possibly many more. Sometimes a last meal request is for drink rather than food, and we're not even talking about alcoholic beverages. Bonin ordered and consumed 2 pizzas, ice cream, and 18 colas as part of his final dinner. Given the amount of probable dental treatment required after that dinner, I'm sure there are at least 1,000 dentists who are disappointed he was executed. There was no word on whether Coca-Cola or Pepsi appreciated the free advertisement. And with that being said, it's time to end our video. Which of these last meal requests amazed you? Let us know in the comments. Like this video and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos like this. We'll see you in the next video.